Dear viewers, wherever you are, hello and welcome to this new episode of your program Spectra, where we delve and dive into the different spectra that makes the Canadian multiculturalism. Taking the decision to immigrate to a new place, to a new country, is by all means no small feat. It is a very big leap, and sometimes it's a leap in the dark, or sometimes, if you do your due diligence and you check what Canada or the new adoptive country is all about, it might be a calculated risk. But again, I just said a calculated risk. So it's always risky to come to a new place, a new culture, new environment, leave behind everything that you held dear and leave behind all of your professional experience. When immigrants come to Canada, like any other new immigrant country or adoptive country, they will not come alone. Immigrants, many times, or most of the times, they come as a family that consists of an adult mother, an adult father, but also they have younger children. Many of these children are so young so that they will grow up in Canada, they will mature in Canada, and their personality will be formulated in Canada. Many others are born here, so they have no real first-hand connection with their country or their culture of origin. Due to this fact, there's always a gap, there's always a chasm, there's always a discrepancy between first generation, second generation thoughts. To what extent can these thoughts be a jeopardy, be destructive to the family, to the first generation, and more specific, to the second generation? To shed more light on this very important topic, I'm really delighted tonight to be accompanied by Dr. Nader Atalla, who is a specialist in addiction medicine, and he's also a lecturer at the University of Calgary. Dr. Nader, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Muhammad, for the invitation. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure having you with us tonight. And to start off, are there any specific psychological problems or mental disorders that are typical for second-generation immigrants per se?
This is a good question. However, I don't think that there is a specific diagnosis for second generation or third generation, or maybe the first generation, yes, post-traumatic stress disorder, adjustment disorder, but concerning second generation, I don't think there is a specific diagnosis. Even the prevalence, like do they have more psychological problems than the general population? I don't think so. If you look at the studies, you will see some studies showing, oh, second generation has they have more psychological problem, and other studies show that they have less psychological problem. And when we see conflicting result like this, we know that there is no correlation or association. So there is no specific disorder that second generation struggle from, and also the prevalence is the same as general population.
So there's nothing specific for second generation immigrants. It's just like first generation or any other people. But let me reformulate the question maybe in a more proper way. What are the things or the catalysts that might trigger psychological problems or mental disorders in second generation immigrants? What might be the sources of these things? What things may provoke second generation immigrants?
Yeah, if you look at the contributing factors or the risk factor, yes, there might be, we can't generalize it, but there are some families or some parents can cause psychological conflict among their kids. And it depends mainly on the parenting style that they use. So we know there is cultural difference, and the traditions are different, the customs are different. So the second generation, some of them may suffer from psychological conflict because of the parenting styles. that the first generation are using to communicate with them. If you ask me, what do you mean parenting style? If you look at the study, there are 4 parenting styles. Okay, one of them is healthy, the outcome is very good. 3 of them are unhealthy. And one of the 3 that are unhealthy parenting style, one of them is very common among people who are moving from developing countries like Egypt, Syria, Iraq, or other countries. So yeah, there are contributing factors depend on the parenting style.
What are these specific parenting styles? How can we divide them?
They are 4. Okay, so the first one is the health. Is I told you that, as I mentioned, one of them are healthy. The outcome is very good, which is authoritative parenting style. Okay, and what authoritative parenting style means, there will be balance between love and affection, at the same time the control and the structure. So these parents are able to give affection, they are able to give love to their kids. At the same time, they set rules. There is a bedtime, there is a homework. These parents are assertive, they are supportive. You will find democracy at home. They always explain why they set certain rules, why they want them to do certain things, why they want them to associate with certain friends. So they set the rule, but at the same time, the background is love and affection and support. The second one is the permissive parent. So the permissive mean they don't set rule. There is high affection and high support and responsiveness, but there is the children run the show. And the parent play the role of a friend, not of a parent. You know, they never use punishment. They never, they avoid confrontation. There is less control. They are less demanding. They put few demands or few rules. And the outcome, maybe social skills of their kids will be okay, but academic achievement will be very low. And another problem with this kind of parenting style is there is high risk behaviors among the kids. So you will find drugs, alcohol, unprotected sex, gambling. So these are very common. These risky behavior are very common among these kids who grow up with permissive parenting style.
You know, actually, what you said is very interesting, because this is contrary to many people maybe misconception that they think if you become a friend of your child, this is the best way to deal with them. So they will confide in you and they will start telling you everything, and this would be the best way for you to deal with your child if he listens to you and you listen to him as a friend. And he or she are not afraid of you, you know, like talking to, you know, they talk to you with a lot of comfort, and they are not afraid of telling you anything. So many people think that this is the best way of parenting, and there is even a common saying that says, like, you know, you should, like the moment your child hits the age of 7, you know, you should start teaching them, and then once they hit the age of 14, you should befriend them. And so you become their body, their friend. So you don't become authoritative, and you don't have apathy toward them, like you don't care anything, but you talk to them like as a friend. But now you're saying something very interesting and very logical, because if you are a friend, friends can just give an advice. Friends do not have any authority or any way to dictate anything to their friends, which is something that is very important. Sometimes you must have this authority.
Yeah, but you know, to be a friend, you focus on the emotional side of being a friend is fine, but still we need some structure, some rule as a parent. So it is always good to balance, you know, the 2 dimension. Like, how did we classify these 4 parenting style? Based on 2 dimensions: the control and structure, and also the affection and the love and the communication. So we need to balance both. Yeah, sometimes, as you mentioned, sometimes, especially around teenage, I want to be more friend than a parent. And sometimes when they are 4 years old, I want to be more parent than a friend. But still, we are using two sides, two dimension to balance. Maybe some, depending on what conflict or what discussion or what is the problem, we choose which side we're gonna go up or down a little bit. But at the end, we need both rules and structures, and we need love and affection and communication and support. So the permissive, they don't have any structure. From day one, there is no structure. Okay, and this is a problem. At age 4, there is no structure, 5, 10, 14, 20, whatever it is. So we call this permissive. And based on the result of the studies, it shows that these people, yeah, social skills can be good with these people, but the academic achievement and the school performance is not that great, because there is no one told you this is homework, this is the bedtime, these are the people you're going to hang out with, these are the activities, these are the sports you're going to practice. There is no.
So because everything is permitted, the children are out of bounds. They don't have any borders. So it turns to be chaotic at the end, I guess.
The third one would be the uninvolved patient, or sorry, uninvolved parent. Uninvolved parent, they don't have the two dimension. Okay, they don't have control and structure. Also, they don't have love and affection and the communication. So basically, they don't care. They just provide the basic needs, food, shelter, water. We are good, good. These people, like these parents, can be very neglectful, and there is a risk for also abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and neglect. So this is another form of unhealthy parenting style, which you are not involved in all dimension. There is no structure, there is no control. Also, there is no communication, there is no talking, there is no emotion involved, there is no relationship that we build. And of course, the outcome of this parenting style on both levels is socially, these kids will not be, they don't have high social skills. At the same time, their academic achievement is very low with uninvolved parent. The fourth one is the authoritarian. The authoritarian one, the parent, this is the one that is common among people who immigrate. If you ask me what are the risk factor, or what are the contributing factor, or what are the trigger for mental illness, this parenting style, which is there is a rules and there is a structure, okay, and you expect these parents will expect their order to be obeyed without explanation. They expect their beliefs and the tradition will be followed without any explanation. There is no communication at all. They always, I am an adult and you are a child. You just follow what I'm saying. Okay, so there is a structure, a strong structure, but there is no communication, there is no explanation, there is no love, there is no affection. And among our culture, there is a stigma about expressing your feeling. So lots of parents, they want their kids to study, go to activity, but don't express your feeling. It is a sign of weakness, it is a sign of stupidity or something like that. So they try to avoid communication on emotional level, and they just focus on rules and structure. And then you're gonna ask me, okay, what is the outcome? You told me the outcome. The outcome, you will find these kids, the academic achievement is very high, but psychological balance and psychological stability and social skills are very low. Those kids will struggle with 4 negative feeling: guilt, fear, resentment, anger. Those are the 4 common negative feelings that can cause psychological illness.
Okay, one parent who's listening to us right now will say, come on, let's be realistic here. Come on, put yourself in my shoes. I'm a new immigrant here. I've just landed. I need to put, bread on the table. How do you expect me to put bread on the table if I don't work 24/7, really? I'm a new immigrant here. I need to look for jobs, day jobs, night jobs to provide for my family. And after I come from work, I'm completely worn out. I need to sleep. I really need to sleep. to be able to perform again the next day. So do you want me to just leave all the work behind and make my family starve? How can I provide for my family if I don't work that hard? And if you even tell me it's the other spouse who will take care of them, well, guess what? She needs to work too. We all need to work 24/7. We need to work, and sometimes we need to work and study at the same time. So where will I get the time to sit with my child and discuss things with my child? Isn't this like, too much to ask? Is this really a realistic demand from a new immigrant family?
So this is a very good question. So you're asking me, okay, I don't have time. I just want to work to provide for my family, to be able to bring food, to provide for their activities and stuff like that. But we need to know that the needs here are different from the needs in our countries. So there is something, I don't know if you know about it, there is something called the hierarchy of needs. There is a psychologist, his name is Abraham Maslow. He came up with a pyramid of needs or hierarchy of needs. He said that the first need is the need for physiological needs, the need for food, the need for water, the need for rest. Then after you fulfill these needs or satisfy their needs, there is a need for safety. You need security and safety. You need a police system, you need a government. Okay, those are the main needs that we are engaged in or trying to fulfill in our countries. But people here, they go up higher in this pyramid. So the higher needs are needs for self-esteem, the needs for self-actualization. Okay, so the kids here will learn how to achieve their full potential and how to feel, to get a feeling of prestige or feeling of accomplishment or higher self-esteem. So they learn here how to communicate, how to resolve conflict, how to have a critical thinking. Not if anyone told you something, you need to think about it first, check the studies. Not everything is written on the internet is right. You need to do some research and see what is the pros and the cons. So and also one major thing that they learn here, how to express their feeling. First, how to feel your feeling, like you need to learn how to feel your feeling. Even the schools, they teach them how to feel your feeling. What are the feelings, the common feeling like joy, happiness, sadness, depression, and anxiety, and then how to express them and how to respond to people who have feeling. So we need to know that these are the needs here, needs for self-actualization, needs for building a self-esteem. Our needs back home are still around the physiological need to have food, make money, make sure my family is safe. I need to set rules and structure to protect them. But the kids from when they grow up here, they have a different needs. So we need to provide them with financially to support them, but at the same time, the emotional support is very important.
So here you're pointing to something, and kindly correct me, like here you're pointing to something very important, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So like in the human brain, we have 3 levels of brain. So we have the reptilian brain, we have the limbic brain, and then we have the human brain. So the reptilian brain is just for the basic needs, like food, sex, like reflex actions to need for survival. And then we have the limbic, brain. So things like mammals. So, you have a family, you care for maybe children and so on, but there's the human brain for creativity. So you're saying that in many cultures where immigrants might come from, there is not much place for the use of the human brain. There is more use for the, like limbic or maybe reptilian brain. So the most important thing is for me to have a family, to provide food for the family. It's mostly like, food, sex, protection, authority, territory, control of a territory. But things like, self-esteem, reaching your full potential, seeing the purpose of life, choosing your own path, is these are new terms or unknown terms in many cultures. And here is where the big difference comes from.
According to Abraham Maslow, so when you satisfy one of these needs or fulfill certain needs, you jump to the second stage, then you jump to the third stage. So the kids, when they grow up here, you're talking about the human brain. Yeah, it's called the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the area responsible for critical thinking, reasoning, planning. So the model in communication here is active model. The model of communication in our culture is active passive model. So even among the doctor and patient, so the doctor and patient in our countries, when the doctor says something, the patient follow. Okay, they don't negotiate, they don't ask why, what are my options, they tell me the pros and the cons, the advantage or disadvantage. So the patient expects that the doctor know more than be better than me, and he's gonna tell me what to do. Is the surgery is better or medication or do some blood work or what? But here, when you go see the doctor, then the doctor you tell you, okay, you have high blood pressure. Then the doctor would ask you, what do you think? What is your biggest fear, and what do you think we should do now? So the doctor is asking the patient, what should we do now? And how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about this diagnosis? You know, like, because I speak Arabic, and I have patients who come from different culture. So the Arabic culture and the people who are grow up in Canada. So even my question when I ask about something and when I bring a diagnosis is completely different, because I know that in our culture it is active passive model. But in the culture here, for people who grow up here, it is active. So I need to ask them, what do you think we should do? Because sometimes, okay, we need to do surgery, but the patient prefer to do medication. Or I need to give them medications, he'd ask me if there is a surgery for it or not. But so the expectation in our culture is completely different from the expectation here. So you need to know that you need to have a communication with your kids. If you set a rule, let's say you ask them, you need to fast Ramadan, for example. You need to fast Ramadan. You need to tell them why we need to fast Ramadan. Is fasting Ramadan this good or bad? So you need to be, and you need also to include science in the discussion.
So fasting Ramadan or Lent, so where they're like Muslim or Christian background, you need to explain to them why. So it's not only fast Ramadan, fast Lent, do it this way, and that's it. End of story.
With casual relationship, if a kid asks you, oh, should I have a boyfriend? Should I have a girlfriend? Why not? And then you ask them, no. Like Islam or Christianity or Judaism doesn't agree with this stuff. There is no premarital sex. So we don't have this kind of relationship. You need to say why, and you need to explain. This is and then the question will, you ask me, what if I didn't explain? I don't have an explanation. This is what I learned from my parent. This is, I would like to teach my kids these rules and these traditions and these customs. I don't want to explain. The problem, if you don't explain, okay, this is going to create a internal psychological conflict, which this conflict will bring anger, will bring resentment, will bring guilt and fear. So if, for example, if you tell if you ask your kid, you need to fast Ramadan, and then other kids at the school, they are not fasting Ramadan or fasting Lent or whatever, they don't wanna fast because now you're putting a structure, you're putting rules without explanation. They will feel, okay, if I follow my dad, I'm not like the other kids or my friends, and if I follow my friends, my dad will not be happy. So at the background, you will creating a guilt and shame and sense of isolation and fear. And we know if someone feel guilty for doing something, like if a parent set a rule or put a structure and you don't follow it, what you're gonna feel? You're gonna feel guilty. And if you feel guilty means I deserve a punishment. Even subconsciously, I feel guilty. I'm not going to be expressing it. I feel guilty deep inside. This means I deserve a punishment. And if this make me feel deserve a punishment, I'm talking about stuff mostly happens subconsciously. If I feel guilty, I deserve punishment. And if I deserve punishment, this will trigger fear. So I will have fearful thoughts and fearful feeling. And if I hear fearful thought and fearful feeling, this will trigger hate, because things that we are fearful about or fearful of, this will, we hate it, or we hate them. And when we have hate, okay, hate bring anger. So you see, we are working around four major negative feeling: guilt, which leads to fear, which result in anger, hate, which hate will end up with anger. And those are the negative energy that cause psychological illness. Okay, when you intensify these feelings, you get clinical depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, addiction, and so on.
We will definitely go deeper into this issue here, but what I want to bring up is many parents, when they come here to Canada or to their new adoptive country, they would always resort to their ethnic silo or bubble, and they would resort to their like self-made ghetto. They just stick with their group. But the problem here again is that they would also immerse their child into this group. And many of them would choose to send their children to specific schools that, sort of delivers education according to their own cultural background. So their life is basically going to this school from their own cultural background. After the school, they take them to a place of worship belonging to their religion and culture simultaneously. So it's not only the religion and culture combined are found in this place of worship. And even they might do most of their activities in this place of worship or in this very, very, like ethnic school. Is this a good behavior for parents to do? When they do this, they think they're protecting their child from the evil surroundings or the wrong surroundings. How do you assess this choice or this way of thinking for parents?
You're asking me if it is protective or harmful to do that. Put them in
Exactly.
Western culture, then bring them to church, or bring them to a mosque, or bring them to a temple, or I would suggest it is a protective factor to do both. So studies have shown that conservative culture is more protective than liberal culture. Okay, but the problem also, there is a downside of it, is that they create conflict. Which one? I'm at school something, and then I go to church, it's a different thing. This is where we need communication and explanation.
But maybe here I'm also saying that they would not only take them to the place of worship daily, but also even the schools they send them to, they refuse to send them to public schools. They put them in private schools that would deliver education and cultural teachings according to their own, culture of origin too.
No, I wouldn't agree. No, I wouldn't agree on a complete bubble. You keep them in a bubble, and you want them, okay, learn this stuff in a let's say private Christian school, and then they go to churches. Then when they hang out with the people, with Egyptian people who come from the same culture. I don't know. You need to be exposed to everything, because at certain stage you'll be working among these people in a Western culture. At certain stage you will be, maybe you'll get married to these to people from different culture. So you need to be exposed to everything. But while you are exposed to everything, like maybe you go to public school, but after school on Sunday you're gonna go to church, or on Friday you're gonna go to mosque, or what. So I'm talking about different point, which is what gonna create conflict. So I go to a public school, for example, then on Sunday I go to Egyptian church. Okay, and then they have different traditions, they have different beliefs. This what can create conflict. But you're telling me, no, I keep them in a bubble. I don't think there is now a bubble, because there is YouTube, social media. Like kids, they can now see the whole world even from their own room.
So I'm saying that this is the idea in the parents' minds. So some parents think that they are doing for the best interest of their children, that by taking them to like an ethnic, cultural, private school, and taking them on daily basis to this place of worship that combines culture and religion together. So you're saying that actually, on the contrary, they're not helping their children at all. They're hurting them.
Yeah, you need to balance both, to expose to both. Okay, because we live in Canada. We need to learn about the Canadian culture, the Western culture, and the kids is the same thing. I don't want them to put them in a bubble, and the school and the friends, and they need to be exposed to different backgrounds. But the problem that might happen, they're gonna ask a question when you put, because it is easy if you're gonna put them in a private school that belong to your traditions, and you're gonna send them to activities that belong to that they have the same, the teacher and the families come from the same background. Okay, this will, kids at this kids will not ask so many questions because they don't see controversy, like everything's the same. But this is unhealthy. I want them to be exposed to everything, because at no matter what, at a certain stage and at certain age, they're gonna be exposed. When they go to college, when they get married, when they start working, when they have a business, they're gonna get exposed anyway. But when you do the exposure, there will be questions. For example, you at a church, you tell them there is a God and we worship God. They go to school, they tell them, no, there is no God, there is evolution. The most accepted theory for this universe is the Big Bang. Then there was the first organism, and then evolution, and then there is a cognitive revolution, and then the human brain, and so on. So you need to be able to answer these questions. And I'm sure in every culture and every background, there are people, intellectuals, who can balance between the conservative and the liberal views about everything in life.
So here comes a very important question that a parent might ask. You say, so hey, are you just telling me that now that in order for my child to be like balanced and not have this paradox or dilemma or conflict in their head, so I should just send them to public school and not take them to this place of worship where they might find also people from the same culture? And so, for example, according to religion A or B, we believe that creation came from Adam and Eve. They were cast out of, like heaven, and they came here to earth and so on. And this is how life evolved. But you're telling me I should put this all aside and just resort to the Big Bang, Big Crunch theory, and again resort to the theory of evolution. And so are you just asking us now to just desert completely our cultures and our beliefs and leave our children just to immerse in the public culture, or the pop culture if you like, just to make them satisfied? So to make my children stable, I should completely lose them? Is this what you're saying?
No, I want a balance between both. I don't want, the pendulum, or I don't want the extreme. I don't want the black and white. Life is always gray. Okay, so I want them to see both sides and be able to have answers and the explanation. What creation mean? What evolution mean? Why we are fasting? Like, for example, I'll give you an easy example. Like if someone asks you why Christian, for example, Christian, they do vegetarian fasting, for example. And then if someone grow up in this culture, the answer will tell them, that lots of studies have proven that vegetarian diet is very important to detoxify the body. So it is good to do it twice a year for 2-3 weeks. This is good for you. Another example, if you ask me why we fast Ramadan, the answer could be, if you include science, because we all need to see that these people, we need to see that science and the religion agree. They are one. Like me personally, I see scientists as a spiritual teacher. For example, we fast Ramadan. You can tell them, if you're gonna explain fasting Ramadan in a scientific way, you tell them this is called intermittent fasting. Do you know that intermittent fasting have psychological value and have a physical value in it, because intermittent fasting will help the body and it lower your blood pressure, it lower the blood sugar, it improve immunity, and all studies have proven this. So this is an example. Another thing, like when you overindulge in anything can lead to addiction. For example, if you overindulge in making money, you will get addicted to money. If you overindulge in having sex, you will get addicted to sex. If you overindulge in eating, you will have obesity, and obesity is a risk factor for all disease. So you see, I'm giving a scientific background to things that are healthy. Nobody would say that fasting is bad, but these kids need science along with traditions. This is what I just want to add. I didn't say, no, don't fast, don't follow these traditions, these customs, or these religious views, just follow this way. No, I don't want to. You keep both, but we need to use the prefrontal cortex to know what are the pros and the cons. I know you might ask me, but there are some stuff that are controversial, and some stuff we wouldn't agree, and this create more conflict. No, if you look at the essence of our traditions and our religions, it is all about love. It is all about letting go. It is all about, compassion. It is all about kindness. So these are the meaning that we can focus on while we are teaching our kids our beliefs and the traditions.
And now here comes this very fine line, really, because second generation immigrants might always find themselves between the hammer and the anvil. The hammer being like the teachings of their culture of origin, the teaching as they get at home from the parents, but the anvil is like the pop culture, the culture that surrounds them everywhere in Canada or in their new adoptive country. A very controversial issue, for instance, like sex education or something like same-sex marriage. And this is part and parcel of the Constitution, of citizenship rights, full respect and rights for all genders, just like there's full respect and rights for all cultures, for all ethnic groups, for all religions. There's also full respect for all genders. Again, freedom of belief. Like we do not, like on our ID cards or like driver's license, there is no religion put, like in many other cultures, many other countries where they put their religion. So I'm free to choose whatever religion I might have, or maybe choose not to be religious, just to be spiritual, or just leave it altogether behind and become an atheist. So how can I discuss such very controversial and touchy matters with my child without them seeing me as backward or racist? Because very common word that children who grow up here might tell their parents when they are discussing such issues like this with them, they tell them, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, but you're racist.
That's why I'm going to mention it again. We want to focus, when we teach our traditions and the religious view, we want to be open-minded, and we want to focus on the essence of the religion and the essence of the traditions, not the external behavioral, action that we want our kids to do. So what are, like, tell me more, what do you mean by essence? Like, what do you mean? No, we have tradition, we have certain things to do. Like, again, what I want us, or teach our kids is the language of love, the acceptance, the detachment, the gratitude, the kindness, the compassion. These are the essence. This is the core. This is the main thing that we want to take it from one generation to another. But maybe there will be differences in the external or behavioral things from outside, but you'll find the essence is the same. And this is the truth. Like if someone asks you, okay, I want to teach you, for example, fasting, okay, because you're going to learn from fasting that you don't overindulge in eating, for example. Anyone would agree on this, the way I explain fasting? Anyone would agree. If I tell you, oh, we want to accept the other, like, for example, you mentioned gay marriage, okay, or gay people, and okay, we want to teach more about acceptance. You're telling me, but there is so huge differences, and okay, we don't want to focus on the okay, it is not the extreme. I don't want to go in the extreme. We want to see a balanced way of living this life, and within this balance, people at the center always float. Okay, on the extreme will drown.
So, like, you're basically saying there's a huge difference between me believing in something and me respecting something. So, if I respect something and I interact with it, does not necessarily mean that I personally must believe this kind of behavior, this kind of life. But nevertheless, even, however, like, even if I do not believe that this is the best way to do it, this should never ever be an excuse for me to disrespect it. So respect is not optional. Respecting and treating everyone with respect and preserving their dignity is a must for each and everyone, regardless of whether you believe or disbelieve, because freedom of belief and thought is something guaranteed by Constitution. But again, what is guaranteed is respect. Again, you're free to think whatever you want as long as these feelings and thoughts of yourself and beliefs do not hurt the other person's dignity or rights.
Yes, acceptance, but you don't have to approve their behavior, but there is still acceptance. And the compassion and the love and the kindness and the forgiveness, all these are the essence of all of our tradition. And I think these are the things that we should focus on. And you ask me, okay, I am sure, because I know lots of them in every tradition and in every culture and in every religion and in every background, there are intellectuals who can do this balance. So not the extreme like this, to be in the center. There are people who have answered for this second generation to prevent the conflict, because the negative influence or the negative impact of the conflict is huge. I told you the four: fear, anger, resentment, hate. When people have these feelings, what they do? They repress them and suppress them. This is a defense mechanism. When we have overwhelming feeling like this, we tend to repress and suppress this feeling, as we hide them. And when studies have shown, when we hide them, it leads to psychological problem and the physical problem. The psychological problem, like clinical depression, clinical anxiety, also leads to physical problem, cancer, high blood pressure. It lower our immunity. It cause headache, blurring of vision. So when we do these when we have overwhelming feeling and we suppress them, it causes psychological and physical problem.
So last but never least, really, is they always say that actions speak much more than words. So I might sit with my child and preach and lecture about multiculturalism, mutual respect, love of the other, open-mindedness, and so on and so forth. But my child sees that I have friends who are only from my cultural and religious background. So I keep telling my child, yeah, you have to befriend everyone, respect everyone, so on and so forth. But they see my actions speak something very different. I have a very rigid point of view about things. I might be a bigot, really hard-minded, stiff about things in my behavior. I only have friends from a specific cultural and religious background, and that's it. So my child will start thinking, Dad, you don't practice what you preach. I'm sorry, this is hypocrisy. So isn't it important that parents really have to practice what they preach? Or is it just enough for you to teach your children to be open-minded, respect the other, love other cultures, while you don't practice this at all?
We call this in psychology double message. When you ask your kids to do something and you do completely different thing. The problem in the Western culture, it's not a problem, it is our problem, is that those kids, again, they are trained to see and critically analyze things. So they can right away, in a second, they know that you are preaching something and you are not doing it, that contradict with your action.
So character building is very important in Western education. So a child is not ready to be spoon-fed information. They must analyze it, understand it, and make their own opinion about it.
Yes. And you know this what gonna cause, if you ask me at the beginning, what are the risk factor or contributing factors that can trigger mental illness? This is one of the major things, because it's gonna trigger negative feeling, it's gonna trigger conflict. And you know, I work mainly in addiction. I have seen lots of the second generation, they use escape as a way to handle their feeling. And so they use drugs, they use alcohol, they use Netflix, they use YouTube, they use overeating, they use undereating, they use cutting, even cutting. You know, some people get addicted to cut their hand just to alleviate or distract from the emotional pain. So what you do, if you preach something and you don't do it and it doesn't agree with your action, you are in your kids, you're gonna create a conflict. Some people would argue, no, we grew up the same culture, there was no problem. Yeah, but the education here is very strong. It teaches the kids to be able to identify and scan the differences between your wording and your action, what you say and what you do. So another problem you ask me, because this is, I see it all the time, because I see first generation, I see also the second generation. Sometimes I told you about repression, suppression, and escape. Also, sometimes these kids, they do the complete opposite. They keep complaining about these feelings. So when they have this conflict and they feel guilt and the fear and the anger, they just keep talking and complaining about these problems. And sometimes the feeling of guilt and anger, they are angry at their dads and they are angry at the society because they don't know where they fit. Am I Egyptian, or I'm Canadian, or I'm American? What am I? Who am I? What should I do? Like, this conflict create negative feeling, and this negative feeling, they start projecting it around them. Like, they start another defense mechanism, which is projection. And also it started to color their world. And you see, I don't know if you believe in the quantum physics, when if you have, or we call it law of attraction or self-fulfilling prophecy. If I am a loving person, I will find myself surrounded by loving situations. If I'm a fearful person, I will be surrounded by fearful situations. And if I'm an angry person, I will be surrounded by anger-provoking situation.
You're simply saying that according to the theory, instead of, we say, like, you reap what you sow, but now you reap what you feel. So yeah, like you'll be surrounded by whatever you feel. So if you have this openness, this, like, you're very optimistic and loving and caring, you'll be surrounded by a similar environment. But if you're so pessimistic, you're always look at the empty half of the glass, you'll always be surrounded by a very negative environment.
So you see, we started our session with asking me what, if there is any contributing factor or is there any trigger for psychological. It is not just a psychological problem, it is also physical problem. And it is not just a physical and psychological problem, it is environmental problem. You're gonna change the environment around you because you have these conflicts.
At the end of this interview, is there a prescription, or, like, if you want to put it in a nutshell, just give them a capsule for parents dealing with second generation? What are, like, specific steps, do's and don'ts, very briefly and very quickly?
I would say always balance. You know, when I mention, I don't want black and white. I don't want someone to eat like an animal or starve to death. I want a balance. I don't want someone to work all the time or rest all the time. I want a balance. I don't want someone to stay in 100 Fahrenheit or minus 50 degree. No, I want a balance. So always look for the balance. The middle way is the best way to teach your kids and to live life, especially in Canada and US. Okay. And again, if you don't have, some people will ask me, I don't have the enough education like them. I don't have the enough background. I don't have even the critical mind like them. in every culture and in every place and in every group of people, you will find someone is able to create this balance and answer all kids' questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nader Tallah, for being with us tonight. Thank you for all the great information you provided us with. I think it was very beneficial for myself and definitely, I think, for my dear viewers. And like an end note here, dear viewers, it's like the middle ground is always the best way. So not too little, not too much. You need to have a balance. And, your child is not a thing. He is or she is a human being with a soul, with a mind, with a will. They should live their life. You should not live their life for them. So you should not tell my child, oh, like, I want you to become like a lawyer. And if they don't become a lawyer, then you disappointed me. I'm like, you're not what I want. This is not the right way to go. No. You should help your child to live the best possible life. Their own life, the way they want it. You should be, a helping hand. You shouldn't be like punishing them, or they shouldn't be afraid of you. No, they should resort to you whenever they need consultation, advice. Be with them, advise them. Be assertive at sometimes. Sometimes you need to stress on things, especially at very young ages, because they don't know what's best for them. But as they grow older, try to keep a balance. Try to befriend them and try to use reason with them. And most probably, anything that is wrong for a reason. There isn't anything that's wrong or prohibited just because. This doesn't exist. There should be a reason. But unfortunately, sometimes we might be a little bit lazy to find that out, but not here. We really need to use our logic, our common sense with our children, and do not treat your child as a possession. They're not your cell phone. They are free humans. They have a desire. They have a will. They must be fully respected. Dear viewers, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Until we meet again, have a great night. Thank you very much.